Audrey Hepburn was never like the other stars of her time. In an era defined by glamour, excess, and carefully manufactured personas, she stood apart with a quiet elegance that felt almost otherworldly. From her unforgettable performance in Roman Holiday to her timeless presence in Breakfast at Tiffany's, Audrey Hepburn became more than just an actress. She became a symbol of grace. But beyond the fame, beyond the camera, Audrey valued something far more meaningful: genuine human connection. And in the final years of her life, she reflected on the people who had truly left a mark on her heart. Unlike many of her contemporaries, Audrey never measured people by their status or success. She cared about kindness, sincerity, and the way someone made others feel when the spotlight wasn't shining. Over the course of her extraordinary career, she worked with some of the most legendary actors in Hollywood history. But only a few earned a place in her deepest admiration, not just as colleagues, but as people she truly loved. One of those men was Gregory Peck. Their bond began during the filming of Roman Holiday, and from the very beginning, Peck recognized something special in Audrey. At a time when she was still relatively unknown, he insisted that her name appear alongside his in the film's credits, an act of generosity that Audrey never forgot. But what made Gregory Peck truly unforgettable to her wasn't just that gesture, it was his character. He treated her with respect, kindness, and a quiet protectiveness that made her feel safe in an unfamiliar industry. Their friendship extended far beyond the film, lasting decades. Peck would later say that Audrey had a purity about her that was rare in Hollywood, and she, in turn, saw him as a man of integrity. Even in her final days, it was Peck who delivered a deeply emotional tribute, reading her favorite poem at her memorial. For Audrey, Gregory Peck wasn't just a co-star, he was family. There was also a sense of quiet mentorship in their relationship, as Peck subtly guided her through the pressures of sudden fame without ever making her feel inexperienced. Audrey often reflected on how his steady presence gave her confidence during one of the most uncertain periods of her life, allowing her to grow not just as an actress, but as a person navigating an overwhelming industry. He was someone who understood the emotional weight of fame, and instead of letting it consume her, he helped her remain grounded. Audrey trusted him not only as a colleague but as a moral anchor in a world that often lacks sincerity, and that trust deepened their connection over time in a way few professional relationships ever do. Another actor who left a lasting impression on Audrey was Cary Grant. They shared the screen in Charade, a film that perfectly captured their chemistry: playful, sophisticated, and effortlessly charming. Cary Grant was already a global icon, known for his wit and impeccable timing, but Audrey saw beyond the polished exterior. She admired his professionalism, his discipline, and his ability to make everyone around him feel at ease. Despite their age difference, Grant treated Audrey as an equal, never overshadowing her but instead elevating their scenes together. There was a mutual respect between them that translated beautifully on screen. Audrey once hinted that working with Grant felt natural, almost effortless, as if they understood each other without needing to say much. For her, Cary Grant represented a rare blend of charm and humility, qualities she valued deeply. Off-camera, their interactions were just as warm, filled with light conversation and mutual admiration, reinforcing the sense that their connection was not limited to performance but rooted in genuine respect. Grant also had a way of maintaining a calm, reassuring presence on set, which helped create an environment where Audrey could fully relax into her performance. That comfort allowed her natural charm to shine even brighter, and she often credited him for making one of her most enjoyable filming experiences feel completely effortless. Then there was Fred Astaire, her co-star in Funny Face. Working alongside a legend like Astaire could have been intimidating, but Audrey found him to be one of the most gracious people she had ever met. Known for his perfectionism, Astaire approached his craft with discipline, yet he never allowed that intensity to overshadow his kindness. Audrey admired his dedication, but more importantly, she admired his humility. He treated her not as a newcomer, but as a partner, encouraging her and supporting her throughout the filming process. Their time together was filled with laughter, rehearsal, and a shared commitment to getting every moment right. For Audrey, Fred Astaire embodied a kind of elegance that went beyond performance. it was a way of being. She often spoke about how his patience during rehearsals helped her gain confidence in areas she initially found challenging, turning what could have been intimidating into an experience of growth and joy. Astaire's quiet encouragement gave her the freedom to take risks without fear of failure, and that sense of trust transformed their collaboration into something far more meaningful than just another film. It became a moment of artistic discovery for Audrey. A very different but equally meaningful connection existed between Audrey and Humphrey Bogart during the filming of Sabrina. Bogart was known for his tough exterior and no-nonsense attitude, and initially, there were tensions on set. But Audrey saw something deeper beneath that surface. She recognized a vulnerability in Bogart, a complexity that others often overlooked. Over time, their relationship evolved into one of quiet understanding. Audrey didn't judge him for his moods or his reputation. Instead, she accepted him as he was. That acceptance, in turn, softened their dynamic. She later spoke of him with a sense of respect, acknowledging that while he wasn't always easy, he was genuine. And for Audrey, authenticity mattered more than perfection. This ability to look beyond surface impressions allowed Audrey to connect with him in a way few others could, creating a subtle but meaningful bond that shaped their time on set. She understood that behind his guarded demeanor was a man shaped by experience, and rather than trying to change him, she chose to meet him where he was, which earned his quiet respect in return. Finally, there was William Holden, her co-star in Sabrina. Holden brought a different energy, warm, charismatic, and emotionally open. Audrey shared a particularly close connection with him, one that went beyond the professional. There was an ease between them, a sense of comfort that made their interactions feel natural both on and off the screen. Audrey appreciated Holden's honesty and his ability to be fully present in a moment. He wasn't guarded or distant. He was real. That authenticity resonated deeply with her. Even years later, she spoke of him with affection, remembering not just the work they did together, but the person he was. Their connection carried a lightness that balanced the pressures of filmmaking, making their time together feel less like work and more like a shared experience built on trust and mutual understanding. That emotional openness created a rare sense of freedom in their interactions, allowing Audrey to be completely herself without the need for performance, something she valued more than any professional success. When you look at the 5 actors Audrey Hepburn loved most, a pattern becomes clear. She wasn't drawn to fame or power. She was drawn to character. Gregory Peck's integrity, Cary Grant's humility, Fred Astaire's grace, Humphrey Bogart's authenticity, and William Holden's warmth all reflected qualities that Audrey valued in her own life.